Welcome, everyone. It's so nice to be with you this afternoon. Hey, Sharon. Well, shall we sit, everyone? Let's go ahead and get into a comfortable posture, and we'll sit for 30 minutes and then open it up for a short reflection and comments, questions. So just get yourself in a comfortable posture. You can go ahead and give your eyes a rest if you'd like. And just put your attention on the breath to get started. You can feel free to count your breaths if the mind is kind of busy. Or if you don't like counting, you might try on the in-breath saying the word peace, and on the out-breath saying the word love. So on the in-breath with the word peace, you would just calm your being, the body and mind. And then on the out-breath with the word love, you would let yourself be surrounded by love. And then we'll begin a body scan just to anchor ourselves in the present moment through the body. And we'll start with the feet. So when you're ready, you can just put your attention on the feet to get started. And you can wiggle your toes to find your feet. Just letting your feet be known in your attention. You know, we ignore our feet for the most part. Letting the tops of the feet, the soles of the feet be known, the heels, the toes, the ankles, the Achilles heels. And then just imagine imagine your attention resting inside the feet, so that the outside of the feet are known and the inside of the feet are known. The whole of each foot. Yeah. So welcome to the sit, Rahul. We're about 10 minutes into a sit, and then we'll open it up for discussion afterwards. I'm just doing a guided body scan. Just started with the feet, and we're going to move up to the lower legs. So after your feet are known and relaxed, you can let your lower legs be known and relaxed. The shins and the calves and the space in between. So that we not only know or let our attention be on the outside of the lower legs, but also the inside. Just imagining being inside the feet and inside the lower legs. And then the same for the knees. The skin around the knees, the front and the back, and the space in between. Letting any stress in the knees leave the body. And then the same for the thighs. The skin around the thighs, the tops and the underneath, and the space inside. Just kind of includes all the tendons and muscles and everything inside. And letting it be relaxed, allowing any stress in the thighs to leave the body. So that the whole of each leg is known and relaxed. From the feet all the way up to the thighs. And you might be able to just imagine your attention being inside one or both legs. And then continuing with our scan, we'll include the buttocks and the genitals, letting those areas be known and free of stress. And then we'll move up the back, starting with the lower back. Any stress in the lower back, just giving it permission to leave the body. And letting our attention move up the back will include the middle back. And then the upper back when you're ready. Just in your mind's eye, looking for any points of stress and giving it permission to be relaxed. So that the whole of the back is known and stress-free as much as possible. And then we'll relax the shoulders. If they're hunched up, you might want to lower them a little. And then we'll come down the front of the torso, starting with the chest. And we'll just notice the gentle movement of the chest as the body breathes itself. Letting any unneeded stress in the chest leave the body. And then the same for the diaphragm and the tummy. Just go at your own pace. And then we might imagine some of the organs inside the torso, the heart, the lungs, the gallbladder, the spleen, all of the organs and bits and pieces that are constantly working to keep us alive and well. Imagining any unneeded stress leaving the body. So just being present to the inside of the torso in your mind's eye. So that we're aware of the front of the torso, the back of the torso, and the inside. The entire torso being known and free of any unneeded stress. You can relax the shoulders if they need it. And then we'll just go down the arms with our mind's eye, starting with the upper arms, the skin around the upper arms, and then the space inside. Letting any unneeded stress in the arms leave the body. And we'll just move down first the elbows and then the lower arms at your own pace. We'll get to the hands in a minute. And then let your attention go to the hands, the palms of the hands, the tops of the hands, the skin around the hands, the thumbs, and the fingers. And the fingernails and the fingertips. Just letting the hands really be known. And you can drop down into the inside of one or both hands as well. really getting a sense for what it's like, to be in this body. And then we'll move our attention from the hands slowly back up to the elbows and then the shoulders, relaxing the shoulders one last time if they need it, so that the whole of both arms, including the hands, are known and free of stress. And then we'll move our attention to the back of the neck, and you can move your head from side to side or up and down to find the back of the neck, letting any stress in the back of the neck leave the body right out through the windows. And then the same for the back of the head. And then the top of the head. Just seeing if we can have an experience of the top of our head without having to touch it. And then we'll come down the forehead, relaxing the forehead and the eyebrows. And then the area around the eyes, and then the eyes themselves, the eyelids, the eyeballs, the eye sockets. And the temples. Just letting these areas be known and relaxed. The cheeks, the cheekbones, the sides of the face. And then moving back up to the eyebrows, just that spot right between the eyebrows. This, where your launching pad, really, to just slide down the bridge of the nose to the tip of the nose, and resting your attention to the inside of one or both nostrils, and paying attention to the air as it comes in and goes out. And then letting that little curved place below the nose be known. And then the lips. Relaxing the lips. And the chin. And the front of the neck. And the ears. So that the whole of the head is relaxed, including the mind. And you can lower your tongue from the roof of the mouth down to the floor of the mouth, opening up the throat. This doesn't work for everyone, but when it works for someone, it works really well to kind of let go, that final relaxation, just moving the tongue down from the roof of the mouth down to the floor of the mouth, opening up the throat, letting that one gesture re-relax the entire body from the inside out. Just seeing if you can have an experience of the entire body from the inside out. And if you can't quite yet, don't worry about it. It takes a little practice. Just keeping your tongue lowered from the roof of the mouth down to the floor of the mouth, opening up the throat. Relaxing the entire body. And then if you can, you might want to see if you can keep this relaxed body more or less in the background and putting your attention in the foreground on the breath again. And just we'll meditate like this for maybe another 10 minutes. Relaxed body in the background. Relaxed attention on the breath in the foreground. And of course, you'll get distracted, but when you do, just kind of relax the entire body again. Put it in the background and put your breath in the foreground. And you can lower your tongue from the roof of the mouth down to the floor of the mouth, opening up the throat when you wake up from a distraction to help you relax the body. If that works for you. So I'll ring the bell in less than 10 minutes. So any questions about sitting practice or the instructions? So we've got one more class next week, and then that'll wrap up the Friday afternoon tea time classes. I've enjoyed sitting with you all for the last year and a half, maybe, I don't know, however long it's been. Tonight I wanted to just continue our exploration of the Noble Eightfold Path and just, briefly remind us that the wisdom factors, the first one is basically seeing life through the lens of karma, that there are causes and conditions. For and in this moment, we can change the course of karma by the choices we make. And that's the first of the factors in the Noble Eightfold Path, plus dependent origination, which is that everything is arises dependent on other things. In other words, there's no independently arising anything. Sometimes we take ourselves to be independent, and it's not true. There are causes and conditions in every moment, and they arise and go away, and our sense of self arises and goes away with them. So that's the first factor, seeing life through the lens of karma and dependent origination. The second factor is really kind of the one I wanted to mention too, is it's about right intention. And the first, there's three of them. The intention to let go, renunciation. So we don't hold on to stress in the body or the mind. We let go. And then the second and third right intentions are not to have the intention to harm and not have the intention to be cruel. And to counter or to foster or generate harmlessness and non-cruelty, we generate loving kindness and compassion. So basically, you could look at right intention of being let go and practice loving kindness and compassion. That's right intention. Let go and practice love and compassion. Let go of stress in the body, let go of stress in the mind. So have a relaxed body and a relaxed mind. And practice loving kindness and compassion. So those are the first two factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. They're called the wisdom factors. And I'll stop there and see if there are questions, and then I'll say a little bit more.
I have a question, but I can wait.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Well, if our choices can change, this might be complicated and just pass it, but if our choices can change the path of karma, then is that considered one of the dependent?
Right. Our choices are also dependent. They don't, they're conditioned by, our spiritual path, or maybe we've been in therapy, maybe our choices are changing. They're being conditioned by our spiritual work, our psychological work, our new understandings. So Yeah. The choices I make today are different than the ones I would have made 10 years ago. Because, and 10 years ago, I didn't have the knowledge or spiritual progress that I have today. So they're conditioned by my knowledge and spiritual progress. Yeah. Does that help?
Right. It
Yeah.
does help. Thank you.
Sure. Barton.
Thanks, Mary. This might be kind of the same question as Sharon asked. You said, you were just touching on dependent origination. You said, we see ourselves in the context of, I'm trying to remember the exact wording. You said, we see ourselves in the context of the things that arise. That's not exactly what you said, but
Let me just say it
fairly
again.
close. Can you just explain it a little bit more what you mean? I think it overlaps with what Sharon was asking, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it does kind of overlap with some of what Sharon was asking. So dependent origination is a little bit more of an advanced teaching. So the less advanced teaching is karma, and then the more advanced is dependent origination. And basically, it's just saying that things arise dependent on other things. Dependent origination. They originate dependent on other things. There's nothing that has arisen that arose independently. And sometimes we take ourselves to be independent of causes and conditions, but that's not true. There's so many causes and conditions that are conditioning who we are in each moment. And they change all the time.
So are you talking then about, I guess, causes and, it's funny, I just did a very short retreat with Ajahn Suchito. And it's funny how there's these streams that sort of come up subliminally, no intention, no, whatever, they just different people bring up sort of concurrent discussions. But I asked him about dependent origination and a couple of other things in the context of how we see ourselves, where the things that are arising are brought in by other people, because most of us aren't really capable of operating completely isolated from the world. And so I was thinking maybe that's what you meant by that, but I'm not sure still. I have to think on this some more, but is that what you meant though?
It's definitely part of it.
Yeah.
There's just so many conditions and causes and things we're dependent upon that lead to, our sense of self from moment to moment.
Right. Okay. That's the key. You mean moment to moment, our interpretation of the self. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense now. Right.
It includes environment and family and politics and, what we read, what we watch on TV, what we listen to on podcasts. Like after a sitting, I'm kind of in a different state than I was before I sat. So my sense of self is different after I sit.
Yeah, this is making more sense. Thanks. Now, I just wanted to try to.
Yeah, it's a hard thing.
Well, I also feel like there's a really important message or teaching in there that I want to make sure I understand a little bit and start to think over more.
Right.
So I think okay, I'll meditate on it a little bit. Right. Thanks.
When we get dependent origination, and it applies to everything, not just our sense of self, it applies to everything. But the golden nugget of it has to do with our sense of self, because when we kind of get it, we begin to see that our moods and likes and dislikes are conditioned, and therefore they come and go dependent on those conditions. And I don't have to try to hang on to them so tightly, either in anger or in greed. I'm more willing to let them live their natural lifespan, come and go. And I don't take myself so seriously. In fact, I develop a sense of humor around my moods, emotions, thoughts, foibles, mess ups. Yeah, everything's
And
good.
all, I would think, like, for me, it's interesting, you know, my friends or whatever used to say, like, why do you let so-and-so upset you? And, you know, those kinds of things. We all talk about those sort of issues. And people would say, you seem really, like, I don't know, I'm paraphrasing, you know, diminished every time you deal with that person. And I don't understand it because you're so this or so that. And it's so what's happening is, I think, in those kinds of situations, conceptually, in terms of dependent origination, is that some other thought is coming up because of the way that person is, you know, and then there's a labeling going on, and it can go into a lot of different directions when in the chain of dependent arising. So it's interesting because dealing with this concept of I am not necessarily a singular entity, and I am not isolated from the other not singular entities. It's you have to keep revisiting it, I find. Just keep reworking it, and increasingly it makes perfect sense. Everything starts to make sense. It's kind of a continuous consideration.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then getting back to Sharon's point, you know, in each moment we can make a choice that'll change our sense of self in the next moment. And other things in the next moment. And one of those things is whether I'm going to take myself so seriously. Can I choose to loosen my grip around who I take myself to be in this moment, or who I take someone else to be?
Yeah. I think so. Well, thank you. I don't want to take up all the time, but that was
Good question.
That was helpful.
Yeah. Anybody else? These are called the wisdom factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. Not by mistake. It takes wisdom to get them. And once we get them, we gain a lot of wisdom. And we get insights from them that help us to wake up so that we don't suffer as much. Yeah, so those are the two wisdom components. Karma and dependent origination are in the first, and right intention, letting go, and practicing loving kindness and compassion. And letting go in the second factor is what's needed in this present moment so I can change the course of my karma. Yeah. Those are the first two factors in the Noble Eightfold Path. And then the next grouping of factors, there's just 8 of them all together. The first 2 are the wisdom factors. The next 3 are the ethics factors. Right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Speech, action, and livelihood. So speech is basically, telling the truth. And there's more to it than that, but it's basically what it is. And then right action is keeping the precepts, of refraining from harming refraining from stealing, refraining from sexual misconduct, refraining from escapist behavior in the form of intoxicants or other addictive behaviors. So, and then the third one, right livelihood, is basically living your life, earning your money in a way that doesn't violate one of those precepts of not harming, not stealing, not engaging in sexual misconduct, and not engaging in escapist behavior. So those are the ethics components: right speech, right action, and right livelihood. And I'll just say a little bit more about right speech. The acronym I use to help me with it is King Tut. King Tut was a mummy and didn't talk much, right? Because he was mummified. And that sort of symbolizes, if you're in doubt, don't talk under right speech, because you want your speech to be, and this goes along with Tut, truthful, useful, and timely, T-U-T. And the K in King stands for kind. So King Tut, kind, and then truthful, useful, and timely. So truthful speech, that includes, you can't get away with half-truths either. I mean, they really need to be truthful. Useful, so is it going to be beneficial? And sometimes talking about the weather or talking about sports can be beneficial in terms of connecting with someone. So you don't have to quit talking about mundane things. So truthful, useful, and timely is at the right time. In other words, if I wanted to talk to someone about something important, but I'm tired and I might not say it right, it's not the right time, or they're tired and they won't hear it maybe in the way you intend it. It's not timely. So that's kind of the, making sure the context for what you want to say is the context that will be conducive to your speech being heard in the way it's intended. So truthful, useful, and timely, and kind. King Tut, right speech. And if you're in doubt, don't speak. But don't be afraid to talk about mundane things to connect with people. So that's right speech. And then right action is the precepts: refraining from killing, refraining from stealing, refraining from sexual misconduct, refraining from escapist behavior. And then right livelihood is not earning money in a way that violates one of those. And a more advanced way of right livelihood is not investing your money in ways that contributes money to people or organizations that are engaged in killing or stealing or sexual misconduct or escapist behavior. So being real mindful about your money. Yeah, so those are called the ethics components. Any questions about those? Yes, Stephen.
I have a question about something you said earlier, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I was going to ask about insights, the capital I ones that we want to have to awaken. I understand that they're more likely to happen when the mind has the 7 factors of enlightenment. But those like the things that we're trying to see are always present. Like everything is always impermanent, and everything is always not part of a unchanging self. So I was curious, what about a particular moment or a particular phenomena it is that triggers an insight, when you can like seemingly sit in a very in a mind that's very amenable to insight for very, very long periods of time and never have an insight. What is it about the moment that triggers the insight that makes it special?
Yeah, I don't think we can will insights. I think they're arrived at by grace, for lack of a better word. Yeah, but they happen all the time, don't they? Without, and they're unexpected. One thing we can do is to make, set up the conditions for having them by following the Noble Eightfold Path. You know, not being so tightly wound around a sense of who we are, and letting go, and practicing loving kindness and compassion, and following the precepts, and not lying, and earning a living in an ethical way. And then there's the other three components of the Noble Eightfold Path. So following the Noble Eightfold Path sets up the conditions for having insights. And with enough insights, you know, we get, we have breakthroughs into awakening. But that's all I know to say, Stephen, is to set up the conditions. It's not something we can will. And it's almost like we have to not be looking for them to happen. I mean, yeah. But am I answering? I don't feel like I'm telling you anything you don't already know.
Well, I'm not sure if this is something that anybody knows. It's just that you can seemingly have this. You can meditate for years and get very concentrated with a mind that's like has all the 7 factors, and you can spend an enormous amount of time seeing moments in that state, and then one moment triggers an insight. And I just wondered if there was something special about that, or some other conditions that needed to be there, or if it is just random.
One thing that there are certain practices that enhance our ability to get insights. I've heard it said that you always get insights when you practice the 5 daily reflections, which are remembering that I'm of a nature to die, I'm of a nature to grow old, I'm of a nature to get sick, and then I'm subject to karma, and everything near and dear and delightful to me will change and vanish. Those are the 5 daily reflections. And when we practice those, that's sort of when we contemplate those, it's a way to gain insight. And I kind of said them in not the right order, but aging, illness, dying, karma, being subject to karma, and everything near, dear and delightful to me will change and vanish. And that has to do with my possessions and the people I love. So contemplating those and leaving a little space between each one, and insights arise. So that's one way. And then another way that I know of that works really well is to get the mind good and concentrated, and then incline it towards insight. Incline it towards investigating any dharmic topic you want to, or investigating any personal situation in your life. But first, get the mind concentrated. And when I say that, I mean like getting it concentrated in such a way that there's less ego now in the mind. So this might be what we call access concentration in jhana work, or getting into one of the jhanas, because there's less ego when the mind gets concentrated. And so you've just subtracted a whole layer of confusion and obstruction that the ego puts on everything. You've just subtracted that out. And now you can see things so much more clearly. And now you've got a mind that is primed for insights. Yeah. Okay, gang, it's about time to wrap it up for today. May we all be happy and free from suffering, and safe and free from danger, healthy and strong, free of COVID, and live a life of ease and well-being. May all beings be happy and free from suffering, safe and free from danger, healthy and strong, and live with ease. And may any benefit from our practice here together today serve to fully awaken all beings everywhere without exclusion. Namaste, everyone, and I'll see you next week, I hope.